Hello all and welcome back to High Ridge Farm with me, the Walrus. We're heading into our final few days of week 3 of the winter season, and we have quite a few things that we need to organise. We've got a lot of extra gubbins ready to go, and one of the key things that needs to happen this week, well, in the last few days of this week and in the next week, is to finish off the hunt for ginger, which is going to be one of the hardest things for me to do, as again, it's not something that grows naturally. It does require me to hope that I just find it, and yeah, that could be an issue. But for now, we're going to quickly go through all of our lovely crops that we have here in the greenhouse. As you can see, we've got lots of star fruit that's ready to harvest, which is lovely. As it's always nice to have lots of star fruit, because that's where we make most of our money. Because star fruit wine is dang valuable, and that's kind of my main jam at the moment, is just getting extra value out of the crops that I am growing and turning it into a good financial benefit. Now, one of the things that I did mention in an episode previously was about one of my plans to potentially create a third barn, which I will use as I'll have my pickling barn for my preserves jar, for making jams and pickles. Then I'm going to have my winemaking barn, which again, shockingly enough, all for making wine. Who would have guessed that one? But I want to make one that uses a large quantity of the soil that doesn't lose its moisture, and to fill that one, on the other hand, with a large quantity of different pots so I can grow a greater number of crops in them. And I think that's probably going to be a very sensible use of one, to be fair, as that will give me a good quantity of extra land that I can use to grow and make more crops, because I'm going to have in the greenhouse, it's going to be predominantly going to eventually be just ancient fruit, which is all well and good, but it's not that helpful in the grand scheme of things when it comes to some of the crops that I want to be able to generate at a faster speed. Which is going to be quite a major thing for me to deal with, as I'd rather be able to grow and create a much greater quantity of crops at a higher rate compared to the slow production that is ancient fruit. And I think that's kind of a reasonable desire, but hey, we'll see. Now, of course, as you can see, we've got lots of pickled pumpkins here, which is lovely. So we've got 57 pickled pumpkins. So let's get 57 more pumpkins out. Let's actually be sensible so we can just not have to worry about depositing them back in. Excellent. So let's pop those in to produce. Pickled pumpkins are quite a high value product. Although I know pumpkin juice is actually a greater return, it's the rate at which one produces pickled pumpkins, and considering I'm really making just lots of wine from my other department, my other shed, and yeah, that's kind of the main thing on that one. I am kind of wondering if I can decorate the sheds, so then, well, maybe that, or put a sign out the front of them so it's really, really obvious as to which one is which. That will indeed involve me moving some of the, well, I say some of, moving the barns and coops around, because that will allow me to have a greater amount of land available. As I've figured out a rough idea of where I want everything at the moment, and that's kind of the main thing here for me, is actually knowing roughly where I want things to be. Now, we've got our lovely fish pond here. So I will have 4 fishing ponds. I'm debating, well, 3 or 4. I'm thinking 4 is probably the most optimal for what I want from them. But again, it's just trying to figure out what works best, really, more than anything. What works with my gameplay plans, my strategies, you know, talking as if I am actually somebody who has an actual plan. Which, to be fair, I really should stop, because I know I'm being very ridiculous in even suggesting that I have any idea what's going on. Or any logic behind my actions. Because I'm painfully impulsive, so most of my actions are just very much the, huh, that'll be a good idea, let's do it. And generally often they don't end up being the case. But who knows, we will soon see. Okay, so one of the tasks for today is going to be going out to Ginger Island to ensure that we can harvest as much ginger as physically possible from the island itself. It's why I'm holding on to that desert warp totem, because that'll be really helpful for that exact reason. So, what other things have we got? I'm still quite pleased with myself that I managed to get a galaxy soul from fighting the dangerous enemies. I did not realise that was something that you could actually obtain. I didn't think that that was even feasible. So that's a very nice surprise for myself, I feel. Now, let's see what's going to work well here. That's another question, really, is what's going to work well at any point. So I'm holding on to the bananas because I want to get 10 bananas, 10 dragon's teeth, so that I can go down and go to the wizard and get him to build me a teleporter to the island. Now, the reason I've grabbed the bananas is I know that I have a couple of banana plants on the island. I think that they're ready to go, so that'll actually be kind of handy if they are. They might not be, though. That's kind of the issue I've got here, is if they are ready, fantastic. If they're not, well, c'est la vie. Okay, so I've got these other kegs that I've not really been doing much with, and I think it probably would be sensible for me to actually be using them in the house for the time being, and actually producing quantities of coffee, as that is kind of a very helpful production. So I'm going to teleport over to the island now, and see where we go. So, of course, I was expecting to end up on the farm, but actually no, of course it makes perfect sense to not be on the farm, because the beach totem is right there. Who knows, Leo? But look, there are people around for you to, like, sort of speak to and understand their madness. And one of the things I know, I've not really laid out this area as super turbo efficiently as possible. I've still got some non-iridium sprinklers on the go here, so it's going to take a little bit of time just to make sure it's fully operational in its efficiency stakes. But I've planted a lot of pineapple, as you can see. There's loads of pineapple plants here, and part of it is because I wanted to be able to have a lot of plants that have continual harvests here. But at the same time, I'm not exactly adverse to planting a bunch of crops that aren't continual harvest. It's just going to be see what works well. That's really all I can say on that one. So let's see, what have we got here? Okay, so that's all well and good. And okay, so we're going to grab the lovely crops that we have here and just make sure we can be ready for the future. So there we go. We've now got the 10 bananas. So, having bought the Junimo chest as one of my first purchases of obtaining Mr. Key Gems, it was by far the best purchase, because my goodness, the Junimo chest is fantastically helpful, because of course not needing to actually be able, like, being able to access it from any point in, as long as you've got another Junimo chest, is phenomenally helpful. And I know full well that it's the sort of thing that will make my life easier. And in theory, I could place another one down. Once you've got 2, you can buy extras. And I'm kind of curious to see if purchasing another one might give me a little bit more room, shall we say, for doing a couple more unusual things, like, for example, going to the quarry area, placing another chest down and using it as a lumber camp, or other such useful, like, cunning shenaniganry. There's a couple of, like, sneaky plans I think I've got, like, deep down, but who knows, they might work out quite well. But we can only see. So we've got no quests for Mr. Key at the moment. That's fine. I can live with that. The more of them I get, the better, because, of course, that is very helpful. So we're going to murderize some slimes today, because slimes need to die. As part of what I need to do is going to be trying to see if I can get more ginger from the tiger slimes, because they do have a chance of dropping it, which, again, that's a thing that I need. It's critically important at this stage in the game. Okay, so we're going to teleport back to the farm, and I think heading back to go and see Mr. Rasmodius is a very sensible plan at this point. So we've got our bananas, we've got our dragon's teeth, we've got 10 of them, which is really great. And I am hoping that we can get that warp totem built and ready to go. I say hope. It's going to happen. Because, yeah, it's going to happen. It's very much needed. And, yeah, it's a kind of almost critical importance that it does, because it's going to be really helpful. There we go. Going to grab the crocus and the crystal fruit. That's easy enough. And let's go speak to a Rasmodius. What can you offer me today? Well, you were once married. That's hunky-dory. And you know what, Rasmodius? You're not wrong. So, I need earth crystals, clams and coral. Coconut and cactus. Well, I've done that one. That one's fine. Don't need to worry about that. But we're going to build the other teleport thing. Again, I can move them around, so I'm not too worried about where I put them for now. And, yeah, I'm probably going to end up moving them around again, as it's just making sure they're on the farm for the time being, and then organising their locations a little bit more fluidly. There we go. Okay, so... Not impossible. No, that's the key thing is, I think I was more concerned about how difficult it would be to actually get everything. So I've got enough to make a Junimo Heart, I think. And perhaps that's something I should do next. Is the Junimo Heart is going to be probably the next most important one for me to grab, as that would be real helpful. Because, unsurprisingly enough, Junimos will make my life easier. Who would have guessed? That essentially farm workers that don't need to be paid and can grab all the crops in a radius whilst you literally do anything else is kind of helpful. It's almost like that's a fantastic choice, and definitely a good decision to make when it comes to what to actually put on your farm. The other thing, of course, is I'm waiting to see regarding the other things like the golden clock, which I know is something I can't get just yet, mostly because I don't have 10 million gold. Again, however, though, it is very handy, as the golden clock does give you the ability to essentially ignore the fences. Because, yeah, it's kind of frustrating having to deal with the repairs of fences on a kind of regular basis, as they do take a reasonable amount of time to actually fix. Okay, so we've got Krobus has been given another treat. I don't think I need to, but, you know, I'm being nice to Krobus. But he has given me an Iridium Sprinkler, which is great, with the joys of Fridays. And I also bought out the Solar and Void Essence because, again, they're really helpful in the grand scheme of things, because I'm going to need them to make some of the bombs. I'm going to need them to make some of the weird and wonderful wizardy related stuff, and also the wizard actually quite likes receiving them, so kind of handy in the grand scheme of things, as that's a general rule of thumb. I would rather have more gubbins that I could need, and having a stock of things is not a bad thing. I'm very much of a hoarder when it comes to playing video games, and I find it very difficult to not hoard items. It's a flaw. I know full very well that it is a big character flaw of myself, and I do really need to work at it and become better at it. it's kind of a difficult thing to sort of to explain, that I know that I'm very bad at doing it, because I always do. I'm very much I want to make sure that I have items that will be of use to me, and I'm very bad at remembering to not just yield and actually use items. And yeah, it's difficult. It really is, and I know there are people out there who are very much like me. It's very easy to just not use all your items. So at the moment I'm just going to make sure I can catch all these river fish. I think I need 10 of them. And once that's done, it'll be kind of easy, really, because, well, it's river fish. They're not like it's a particularly challenging or complex puzzle, really. I just need to catch some fish. Oh no. Whatever will I do? But once I can catch a bunch of them, then I can essentially sell them. I don't think there's going to be anything really used to do with them. I know because I've got like the angler perk, I sell them for hire, and that's a big tricksy thing, because a lot of the lower value fish it's more valuable to yourself to turn them into sashimi. However, not everything is, especially when you've got the angler perk, which really means that as long as it's silver quality, it's actually probably going to be more valuable to you to actually sell it as the raw fish itself. Although there are a few fish that I want to catch to turn into food items, such as the carp. I need to get 4 of them to have carp surprise, which I think the surprise is that it's just carp. Doesn't sound particularly appetizing, I'm not going to lie. I don't think I've ever eaten carp. It's not a fish that I've ever thought about. But then again, I've eaten sea bass, and I've eaten haddocks, and I've eaten all sorts of different ones. I've definitely eaten, well, sturgeon technically, because I have had caviar, but I'm not sure, to be fair, when it comes to carp. Same with catfish. I mean, that's kind of an interesting one. I've never eaten a catfish, but I do hear good things about it as a general bit of cuisine, and it's something I would like to try at some point. So I don't think you see them particularly often here in the UK, at least, as an item of purchasable goodness. But hey, who knows? We can find out and see. It may happen at some point here in the UK. I managed to find somewhere that sells it, and I indulge, and it's great, but it might also not ever happen. It might never occur. But that's just how things roll. I know it's much more of an American thing, like a specialist dish in the South. So, hey, if anyone wants to comment and actually tell me, does it taste of any other fish? Is it similar to something else? Is it... Because, again, I have literally no context for it. I don't know what it tastes like. I don't know what it's going to be like. It's, But the thing is, it interests me. And I think that's probably the easiest way of putting it. But it was that one of those ideas that I had about actually making the Stardew Valley cooking such, like the videos of the cooking. Now, I have done a few of them, but the trouble I've had is it's remembering to get them done as well as all of the other videos, because I do still have a daytime job, and working out whether it's feasible on top of, essentially, I'm trying to do 2 to 3 videos of Stardew a week, and then I've also got the pub quiz videos, which are once a week. So it's a lot of work. I think I may have been a little bit overly ambitious with some of my project ideas, which it isn't a terrible thing to suggest that you're being maybe a smidge ambitious, but it still kind of hurts when I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this, and then I realise, maybe I can't. But, that's just how that sort of pans out. So I'm going to figure that one out, at least, and see how well I can do with the rest of these videos. So I would very much like to get the Stardew cooking videos done, because I've enjoyed cooking and trying to follow Stardew recipes. I still haven't found a good recipe that involves melon and cake that isn't using like a melon jello, which I don't feel like it's authentic enough, because that's just a melon flavour. It's not actually using a melon. So it doesn't feel right to me, at least. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. We're going to catch something. What it is a very different question. I'm not too worried about what it is, to be fair. I'm actually just after just the catch. It's more of my jam here. Okay, so we've got a pike. And they're a little bit more fiddly and fiddle-faddly to catch, which, again, it's not the end of the world. I can live with it. Okay. So where next? What are we going to catch next? What can we find? That's the thing, is like, it's late at night. It's not going to be likely to be anything super exciting. I think one of the things I know I wanted to do is I did catch a bunch of squid, because I knew that was something I wanted to have. So I only need a couple more. So we're nearly there. Nearly there. Let's see. I know full well that not everybody finds fishing quite as invigorating or as thrilling. It was one of the things I did notice on the Stardew Valley Reddit, where people were essentially complaining about how dull they found doing the fishing minigame, which I can kind of see. It's not really everyone's cup of tea. I get it. But I enjoy it. It's one that I don't find like particularly arduous, but it's also not really the most thrilling, is it? Of all like the sort of minigames. But at the same time, it's no Junimo Kart that makes me want to tear my hair out, because God, I am bad at Junimo Kart. And the Legend of the Prairie King, like, I've completed it a couple of times and I have got the achievement for doing it without continuing. It is not the easiest game to do that in, but oh well, it's a thing. Because of course that was something that I've seen a lot of recently. And also, don't worry, anyone who's seen them, there have been a lot of really, really dumb I think it's not Vice, it's some other stupid distributor of dumb media who've been going on about Stardew Valley. How on earth do you do this? And it's like, it's very, very stupid self-explanatory stuff. And don't worry, I'm never going to do a video on this is how to use a hoe. Because that was a thing, which, you know, that hurt my brain a little bit. They're like, why on earth would you make a video for that? Other than the potential of rage clickbait, of people going, why are you doing this? But that's the only logic I can honestly see for it. But anyway, so we've got this there, that's fine. Let's see, is there anything else that we can do? So, this is our lovely Saturday of our weekend. We've got more stuff to make, so we're going to make some more coffee, because coffee is good, coffee is delicious, and coffee is very important. And with coffee, we can speed ourselves up throughout the day. And of course, as long as we've got 3 bits of coffee, that we can turn that into the espresso-y speedy boy goodness, and thoroughly enjoy ourselves even faster for longer, which is kind of where we're going for at the moment, I feel. Generally speaking, having higher speed is really where it's at for other things. Now, I know when I first played through Stardew Valley, I did definitely have a mod that made me move a lot faster, and yeah, it was super, super handy. But again, I haven't downloaded it deliberately because I feel that it's a little bit of a cop-out. Now, at least. I don't think it's that appropriate. I don't really want to be that lazy, I think is the easiest way of describing it. I feel that, nah, I'm gonna struggle my way through this game, because I I'm a glutton for punishment. And maybe not entirely a glutton for punishment, but I just want to be able to have a slightly vanilla experience, but also one where I haven't tried to make my life easier. It's why I knew about the whole the scythe mods that make it easier to harvest, because you can just swing and do the entire lot in one go. But it feels like a bit of a cop-out in some ways. It's like, oh, that's just making the game easier. And have definitely mentioned it before, but a lot of the time when I download a mod, it's because I want to expand the game and make it harder in some ways. For example, I'm a fond proponent of the turn-based strategy game Battletech from Harebrained Studios. I really love it. I find it really exciting, and it actually kind of inspired me to kind of get into the Battletech tabletop. And one of the things that it has that I think is quite interesting is that there is a mod called BTA 3062, which really amps everything up quite a lot. It makes the game a lot more in-depth and a lot more challenging. And, you know, I like it. I like the fact that it makes the game harder. But it adds a lot more of the universe into the game, which I think is kind of important. Actually adding an extra value to the to your experience, and that's kind of what I'm after with Stardew. Is like I've got a couple of graphical mods, but nothing more so. And yeah, that's just kind of what I've gone for. I would like to add more crops, but the trouble I had is that there's a lot of... It's the download this mod, but you also need this mod, followed by this mod, and this mod to actually get it all to work, and it's a bit like, oh... I'll end up downloading like 18 different mods, and that's not really what I want to do. So... if only there was an easy way of doing some smaller scale mods. But I guess if you've built a mod that's based off of another one, and I really need to do some more proper research into it and actually see what works well and why they work. I should probably try a dummy run where I just have my... because I do have my test character on here who I use to test things like when I was mucking about with the mods, actually seeing if I could get it to work more effectively, and I think that's not a bad idea, having like a test playthrough, because it means I don't accidentally screw up the entire game, which I'm not saying that I'm likely to do, but I don't trust myself sometimes, because I am an idiot, and I know that fact, so it's just how that rolls. Like at the moment, I'm just currently umming and ahhing over what's the best course of action at the moment. But as it kind of rolls, I am thinking about getting rid of a couple of the animals in the coop, because I don't feel that I need all of the chickens that I do have. And yes, I've got lots of the dinosaurs because I wanted lots of dinosaurs. I just don't know if it's as really viably useful to me in the grand scheme of things. Is it something that I need lots of? I mean, yes, the mayonnaise is a great production facility, essentially. You're making lots of money through it. But I'm not... My farm isn't tailored specifically to deal with animal product as opposed to arable products. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of trial and error and seeing what works for me and the farm. At the same time, I do like having the animals. They're lovely and adorable, and yeah, it kind of makes me happy a little bit. So I kind of want to keep them. I don't want to like get rid of them too much. Okay. So let's see what other things we've got. So we've got lots of dinosaurs. I kind of am debating whether I just get rid of all of the not dinosaurs in here and just have like a big dinosaur enclosure, essentially, because I think that'd be quite cute, having all them dinos, because dinosaurs, they's adorable. Which, you know, I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing to want to do. And yes, they're not going to make me absurd amounts of money because they're all not produced. They're not daily egg layers. I think that's the easiest way of putting it. They're in what would be the word for it? It's infrequent. There we go. They're infrequent egg layers. They're not like it's. They're not going to throw them out at me at a high speed. Which again, it's not like it's the end of the world when it comes to that. So let's go on through and find out what we've got. Okay, so the seeds are going to be, not like it's a problem, it's just making sure I can figure out exactly what and how I want to plant them. Which might sound very, very silly, but I want to make sure I've got a good quantity of crops being grown on Ginger Island so that I can use them as effectively as possible. Now I've got myself a nice golden coconut there, which is great news for me. And now comes the remaining part of just making sure I can get everything I need. Okay. Can we get anything super, super handy? That's going to be the question. Well, lots of eggplants in general, which still sounds like a strange thing to call an aubergine. But hey, you do you, America, on that one. Yes, so we've got lots of things there. We've got more stuff to come. And as you can see, again, I'm making a little bit of money from what we've got here on Ginger Island. There's still definitely opportunity for greater, more useful crop growth. But hey, we will gather what we can, and the more we can get, the better we're going to be placed, and the better we can make, and more money we can make. And that's really all of what it boils down to, is how much fat stacks of cash can we make here in Ginger Island, as I do really want to make as much money as possible, as I need to get the return scepter. That's a very major need right now. Once I've got the return scepter, then I'll feel a little bit more comfortable with being able to hang around in parts of the world for longer. Now again, I'm still using the pickaxe on the worked ground because I'm not sure whether that is actively something that makes a difference. And that is something I mean, hey, if someone actually knows, please do tell me, because it's not something I'm 100% familiar with as a general concept. It'd be nice if I knew, but unfortunately I just don't. And yeah, I kind of want to know if that is something that actively makes an impact on your growth of the ginger here on the island. Because yeah, it's a kind of an important thing, and you know how it is when you've got gamer superstition, like when it came to like Pokemon, and people were adamant that if you held down A, B, and down or something really silly, the ball would count as being a master ball, and you had all these kids just hammering keys, well, buttons on their Game Boys to try and see if that actually was the case, when it just turns out no, that's a big bunch of nonsense and all fibs. But it's interesting how those sorts of stories got around without the internet, really, in the same way that whole, if you do XYZ and you can go find like the rocket van and catch yourself a Mew and all sorts of weird things. And it's just, I do find it kind of fascinating how those sorts of rumors manage to spread, even though it was kind of difficult to even think about that being actually the case, and even actually just to prove any of it, because yeah, very difficult. What with it all being a bit secretive almost. But also, it's just interesting that like people were genuinely convinced of things like that, and how it spread through. Like, I heard through XYZ that this was a thing, and it's like, that's kind of fascinating to me. It might be just because it's me, and I'm fascinated by how things can be sort of adopted culturally as an unusual concept. But hey, I think it's fascinating, and I think that's an interesting, unusual tool to see. Okay, so we're going to fly ourselves over to another part of the island. Right, so there's no ginger here. Let's go elsewhere. I don't think we're going to find anything else, are we? Oh, no, we've found some more, so that's another 5 ginger. So that's good. We're going to quickly refill the land in. Again, because gamer superstition says that that's what we need to do. Well, my gamer superstition says that that's what I need to do, at least. Again, whether it's false or if I'm just essentially just making it all up as I go along, well, I'm sure we'll find out eventually. Okay, so let's see. Well, let's deposit some more random gaff in these chests. Might get something good. Who knows? Let's see. Yeah, so just depositing general things in the chests. We've got lots of guff to be deposited and stuff and things, and yeah, you know, general naff that needs to be done. Let's see. So we've got lots of seeds. We've got lots of different growth gubbins, which is nice and all, but how useful it's going to be is a very different question, I think. Come on. Let's keep going. We are definitely having one of those days, I think. Okay. Well, we still haven't found that much of super use yet. Out here in the farm, like in the wastelands. I say wastelands, like it's a barren wilderness with nothing else in it. But sometimes I feel like it might as well be sometimes. Yes. As you can see, gonna head on back down to the beach because we do need some clams if we can get them. Because that will be a helpful, useful resource for making the beach totem. Which again, we do need for completion. We need all of the warp obelisks. And it's slightly frustrating that we need all of them. Not the end of the world, it's just a little bit annoying, really. But I'll live. Okay, let's see if we can catch ourselves a couple more squid, because squid are nice. And they're a bit of a faff to catch, but again, they're nice and helpful once we've got them. As they are worth money, and really, they're more worth to me in their cookery uses, because the squid means I can make calamari, and it does horrify me a little bit about the description of it. It's so chewy, which generally is a sign that it's not cooked very well. So it just kind of makes me think that actually maybe the our lovely Stardew chef is a bit bad at their job at cooking. But you know, that's just blaming myself. I've personally never cooked squid. I would kind of like to. I've just never had the opportunity or the need or the yeah, just not, let's say need even. Yeah, it's probably the best way of doing it because I've never had squid to cook with. I think probably the most esoteric stuff that I've cooked with is oh goodness, got to think on that one. It's probably some of the like kangaroo is probably the most esoteric of the meats that I've ever cooked. But Yeah, I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. Like, yeah, I've done ostrich, but I think kangaroo is a little bit more unusual. I mean, it feels more unusual. Don't know about you out there. I'm sure you might be able to give me some idea of whether you think that kangaroo or ostrich is a bit more odd. Good old walrus cooking with weird and wonderful. But yeah, it's fun. But then I've got some friends who have worked in kitchens a lot more, and they've cooked some more unusual items and foods, which is kind of interesting. But I really don't envy having to cook with a lot of those ingredients, because they seem like they're a lot of involved work really with them. Okay, so let's head on back to the farm. Clint wants a quartz, if I remember. That's going to be the question: is will I remember to give him said quartz? Because that's going to be the big one. Because again, I know I'm scatterbrained. I know I'm likely to forget. I know it's just how, unfortunately, this happens. I'm scatterbrained and easily distracted, and I get focused on other important tasks, and I feel that that's it's good that I am appreciative of the fact that I'm a bit dozy sometimes. But yeah, let's go. Okay, so it's still only 9:30. Is there anything else that we can do before the end of the day? There must be something helpful we can do. Oh yes. So one of the things that I noticed when I was having a look through the fish that I haven't caught is the stonefish. I haven't caught any of those, and I think that you find them here in the cave system on floor 20. Now, this one's a little bit more tricksy in some ways, because it's also where one can obtain the ghost fish from, and they kind of work in that the ghost fish can sort of almost outcompete the stonefish, which is really annoying, because obviously I want to catch one of the two, which is the ghost fish, not the other. Thank you kindly. That's my jam on that one. Let's see if we can get anything exciting here. Well, maybe. Maybe is the answer. I'm getting lots of ghost fish, nothing, and loads of algae. I don't really care for the algae. That doesn't excite me. I'm afraid I have things that I want, and ghost fish and algae are not them. Come on. Give me that chance of really useful, real handy, lovely stuff. Give me that damn stonefish. Please. Again, I think I want to try and catch as many of the fish that are required. I also want to catch the ice pip, which again I've not caught on this one, which are floor 60, if memory serves, because there are a few pools in the mines, and you do need to go down to certain levels to actively, get the creatures. So that's going to be my big fun task at the moment. It's trying to work my way down and getting all of these slightly more fiddly fish. Essentially, I think that's probably the best way of describing it. Is they're fish that are a little bit more tricksy to catch, and I need to. Right. Nope, still nothing. Come on. It's almost 1 AM. I should probably head back to the farm, otherwise I'm going to forget and I'm going to go pass out on the floor, and I don't really want to do that, because that's not my game plan today. As Joja coming along and pickpocketing me for my how dare I decide to pass out. That's not my jam. Thank you very much. Come on. Go away. Okay. No holly. No, I don't want that. That's pretty dull, really, in the grand scheme of things. Well, we've got lots of stuff to sort of sell, and we've got a couple of squid. Again, that's kind of handy because the squid is what we need for dealing with the cookery and for my desperate need to complete said cooking tasks. So, let's see if we can get anything else out of all of this mess. Some lava eel roe, that's nice and all, lovely stuff. What else can we get? Something's got to be helpful. Well, at least we're selling our way through things. We're getting there. We're being vaguely prepared. That's really what I can... The best I can ask for is being vaguely prepared. Okay, so we've got that rare disc as well. Now, I was pretty convinced that I've handed that in to the museum. So this could be a curious question to be asked on this one. Whether that actually has been. Or if I need to actively do anything about it. So we'll soon see. Okay. Well, we're going to make a bunch of coffee. We're going to brew that up. I'm going to have a nice coffee date with myself. Because, you know, that's exactly how this works. As we know, coffee is very important and keeps my brain functional. Because I will never deny that I am just a mess without it. Because, yeah, I need coffee. I need it to thrive, man. It's thoroughly important to me. Okay, so... we have bruschetta. That's lovely. That's going to be a nice extra recipe to have. Not quite sure. I'm sure I must have some tomatoes and stuff that I can actually make that with. I might not actually have any tomatoes in the fridge. That's going to be a bit of a conundrum. If I haven't. Yeah, that's going to be annoying. Oh well. Well, if I don't, I'd better get some then, hadn't I? Okay. So, is there anything else I can make? Lucky lunch. That one's an interesting one. I need a super cucumber. Or sea cucumber even for that one. I wonder if there's anything else I can do. Well, again, I'm probably going to start scribbling down on the little notepad I keep next to the computer of some of the things that I still need to cook so I can actively try to get them done. Because there's a lot of cooking recipes that I still haven't done, and yeah, it's kind of important that I do complete them all, because again, I need the completionist thing, like the completion perfect run. So, yeah, it could be a big thing. Could be. We will see indeed on that one. But yeah, that's the thing. Okay, nothing exciting there, unfortunately. Right. Well, we still got... I should, again, probably go through all these chests at some point. The thing is, I know full well that that's going to be a very boring day video, so I might actually do a... When the new year hits, so when year 3 begins, what I might do is essentially skip the Monday as a recording. And actually just go through all the chests and try to organise the house and everything that's associated with it. So that then when I pick up again from Tuesday, yeah, I'll probably plant a few things, but it'll be a bit more comprehensive and everything will be organised. I'll try and build some of the signs and slap them down and leave them near chests. And even if I can, move stuff around on the farm by using Robin and the Wizard. That might actually be a more prudent and sensible use of my time, as bizarre as that might actually sound, as that might give me well, a bit more... Well, I'll feel better about it, I think is probably the best way of describing it, because I know that the farm will be organised and laid out better. And that's something that's kind of important to me, is actually making sure that the farm's layout is optimal, shall we say. So yeah, maybe that's going to be something that I should probably do come the first of the year, like the first of spring. So that video is probably going to be a little bit more boring, but I will probably ignore the filming side for that and just talk about what I've done. So people know that it's happened and that things are going on, but they might not be, you know, super present because it won't be that exciting, really, sadly. But yeah, I think that's going to be the best plan of action with that. Anyway, so we've got lots of, well, I'll say lots. We've got a few extra crops there. We've got the winter seeds. Probably going to have to make sure I get them all sorted because, yeah, winter seeds, they're a thing. We've got lots of those. And, yeah, very important to have them harvested. They're not, like, the most valuable of crops, but, again, I do really like the idea of crystal fruit wine. It's one of the things that kind of reminds me of, I know there's, oh, goodness, ice wine, I think that's the name, where, like, the grapes are left on the vine for the first frost so that they slightly rupture, and some of the moisture leaves them, so they're a little bit more heavy in the sugar. I think that's the theory behind it. I couldn't tell you. It's one of those things that I really should know, but I can't be 100% sure on it, which is kind of frustrating. But, oh well. That's a thing that I kind of wish I was a little bit more sure on the actual name of it. Because it's a really interesting kind of crop, product. And it'd be actually something I'd quite like to see implemented in game. Like the idea of, yes, you can leave grapes out on, like, from the first day so that the plant dies, but they wither, and you can get, like, ice grapes because they are essentially for that. They're made for winemaking, and you can either sell them as just a product or make quite a valuable wine out of them. And I think that'd be a really cool, different thing that one could do with them. Whether that's feasible is a very, very different question. I don't really know. But hey, that's a thing that I'm thinking about. That's the problem, is I come up with some, like, weird, crazy ideas for mods and such with no capability or understanding on how to make a mod. As I mentioned previously, I have never made a mod for a game. My brother, he was the one who did that for our World of Warcraft gaming. And essentially, rather than doing the computer side of stuff, I kind of got more into the tabletop wargaming side of things. So I kind of spent more of my time learning how to paint miniatures rather than to code. Which, I mean, has its uses in some ways. It's just not at the moment. Because, yeah, I can't really demonstrate my skills at Stardew by painting a miniature. It's not going to be not super conducive to a powerful Stardew gameplay experience on that one, I think, is the easiest way of putting it. Which is a shame. But yeah, that's all I can sort of highlight on that, at least. Okay, so we've got these fish here. We're gonna go turn them into fertilizer, because yes, fertilizer. Is there anything else that we can do with them? I don't think that's the question. Okay, so we've got some quality fertilizer there. Lovely stuff. Again, very handy to just turn the crayfish into actually handy products, because yeah, they're not helpful on their own, which again, don't really care about, since I don't really, you know, need them. Okay, so we've got our Nautilus fossil. We're going to go flog that. We don't need that. We've got some coffee on the go. That's nice. who doesn't like that. Well, actually, I know one person who doesn't. Spiffing Brit, he absolutely hates coffee. So I'd be the antithesis of English for his logic, because I don't really like tea very much. I think it's because I haven't tried the right blend that suits my flavour palette. But that's, you know, that's a thing. Okay. Have we got anything else that we can do here? That's the question. I'm not sure. So Sunday's going to be a bit of an odd day, really, I think, because it's trying to figure out what can I actively do that's going to be really helpful come the next week. Of course, yes, it's going to be going to Ginger Island, getting the ginger, that, you know, that sort of very important task there. I'm wondering if I can get the coral and the clams so that I can start manufacturing the warp obelisk so I can go to the beach quickly. But at the same time, it's not a super immediate thing that needs to happen. Like, going to the beach is quick and all, but at the same time, there's not, sadly, not that many times that I go, you know what I need to do? Go to the beach. I guess because I don't really have much of a relationship with Elliot, or, as I've mentioned previously, I don't find him an interesting character, and I don't like him as a character. So, yeah, that might be it. I think, really, that's what it boils down to, is I don't really need to go to the beach much, other than maybe going to see Willy. But since I've now got the teleport to Ginger Island, I don't really need to worry about that either, as I can just go there rather than having to faff and wait with that one. But who knows? It's a thing that will occur. We'll soon see on that one. Okay, doesn't look like there's much else there, at least. Okay, so is there anything for sale that might be useful? That's the question. It's always the question, though, is there anything likely to be for sale? One of the things I really should do in the next week is actually probably trying to improve my relationship with the kids, which is a strange thing to sort of suggest, but, like, obviously I don't really know, like, Leo is definitely one that I have a distinct lack of a relationship with, and I really need to figure out what items he likes. I think he likes duck feathers. That's one of the items I think he likes, but I can't remember if that's Vincent or him. I might have to have a look and see in my inventory what other gubbins I can give him. Or I wonder if any secret notes have given some clues. I mean, the kids shouldn't be too difficult, right? I mean, you hope, to be fair, because the kids, like, they're children. They should be really easy. They should just like sweet things, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's what my brain goes to. You can tell I don't have any kids, can't you? Because I'm like, yes, children. They like things and stuff. But hey, who knows? It's not my field of experience, I think is probably the easiest way of describing it. I've always kind of described myself as the ridiculous fun uncle, because I'm shamelessly the sort of guy who does own Nerf guns for friendship destruction. And shamelessly, I will hand Nerf guns to nieces, nephews, godchildren, you know, all of them, and then offer to annoy the parents by having the respective children shoot said parents repeatedly. As we can see, we're also planting our Junimo hut down, so that's going to be really helpful. Once that's down, yes, it is going to require a little bit of moving of things around, but this area is one of the larger areas actually here on High Ridge Farm, as, yes, I'm kind of lacking on my ability of available land, which kind of sucks a little bit. And there's not much I can do about it either. That's the worst part, because most of the available land is directly beneath the house, and where's probably the best way of describing it? And then above where the barns are, because they're the two largest areas, expanses of available, viably useful land. There's just nowhere else, sadly. Which, you know, nothing I can do about. Oh well. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so we've got some useful gubbins there, which is nice. Anything else that we can get? Well, iridium ore is all good. We're going to smelt some more of that because we're going to need to chew through a lot of iridium bars at the moment. There's a lot of need for them. As right now, I need to just make iridium bars and just get stuff. For the pillars, for the obelisks even, that's really the main reason for me grabbing them. Because they are indeed what I need to focus on. Okay, so let's see what other things we've got that could be handy. Well, we've got lots of things here on the island at least, which is nice. I'm going to cut down all these trees that I don't really need to worry about. Because again, I don't need... well, I don't need them, but I planted them deliberately so I could have more... what's the word? Supplies of wood. Why was that as a general concept the most bizarre thing to try to get my head around, like trying to figure out the words for that? Yeah, it's wood manufacturing is going to be part of Ginger Island, I think, because there's a bit of area that isn't really farmland with all this grassland area here. But I think if I plant a bunch of trees in it, like obviously you can see all the trees like that are currently growing there, might not be a bad thing for me to actually have. Just generally growing there after all, as that'll give me quite a nice allocation of gubbins that I can play around with, because I want really as much wood as physically possible, because wood is handy. I need it to make things and improve some of the structures. I need it to make the preserves jars, because yeah, they're really wood hungry. They are intensive things that need a lot of wood. And of course, the coal, which is the main like hindering thing for me at the moment. Wood's much easier because of course it's renewable. And considering I don't really want to have to process 10 bits of wood to make a single bit of coal, because yeah, that seems flipping sensible to me. If it was like, I know, if it was 1 for 1, that would be way too cheap. But it does take a lot of work, considering each tree gives you a bit more than 10. But even then, it's not that much more. It's an expensive choice, I think is probably the nicest way I could put it. It is definitely an expensive decision to have made regarding your crops and your requirement of coal. But oh well, there's not much I can say on that front. Okay, so we're going to mine that one and see what we get. Nothing much. Anything else that we can see of any vague use? That's a very good question. There's no more ginger by the looks of things. That's a shame. Well, this is going to be somewhat intriguing then, isn't it? Hum. Hopefully we can sort this out, because we're coming up to the end of the day now, and again I haven't really shipped out as much ginger as I would have liked. I should probably do a proper check through and see exactly how much ginger has been shipped out and how much is required left to be delivered for Caroline's request. Now, again, I've never grown ginger. I've grown garlic. That's real easy. But ginger? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I know it's a root, but I've never tried growing it myself. So I'm kind of curious to see how actually difficult it is to cultivate. I mean, I don't think it's going to be anything like wasabi, where it's an absolute swine. But I'm going to plant some more taro, at least, because again, I could probably turn that into poi. As I haven't really done anything with taro root since the previous shipment off of Ginger Island was requested by Caroline, which I think she gives you the solar panels for that, doesn't she? Right, okay, so we're going to head on ready to be preparing ourselves ready for bed. I feel there's not a huge amount more that I can get cracking with. Well, it doesn't feel like there's much more that I can do, which is kind of a downer in some ways, because yes, I can organise my chest and all, but whoop-de-doo. I mean, what else can I sort of feasibly wrangle? Because yeah, shockingly enough, I'd quite like to be able to figure out if there's anything else that I can sort out for the day, but I know it's the end of the week and it's the end of a day, so there's not really going to be that likely that much to do. But for now, I'm going to place down some more of the furnaces that I recovered from Ginger Island and get myself ready so that I can smelt some more of the iridium and just generally kind of prepare myself better. It's probably the best way of describing it, because I want to make sure that I have more going on with it comes to the iridium manufacturing, because I've got a lot of iridium ore and I could really use more of it coming up later on, as I'm going to need a lot more for the very important obelisks, and I think there are a few other things that I'm going to need it for, really, going forward. And I've got the iridium, all of my tools are iridium, even my trash can now, but there's got to be a few other things that I'm going to need iridium bars for. Now, I know that Clint likes receiving them, but at the same time, he also likes receiving gold bars, so me throwing an iridium one at him seems a bit of an overkill waste in, you know, my sensibilities. But that's that one at least. So, next week's main goals are going to really be more ginger, improving the relationship with Leo, and I think I have an idea of the things that he likes to get, which I believe are duck feathers. Again, I could be very, very wrong on that one. I hope I'm not. I think one of the things I should also do is actually use the cinema. I've not used it yet. It's a thing. I could take somebody to the movies. That'd be kind of nice. I have a vague idea of the sort of the sweets that some of them like and the movies that they like as well. Stress on the vague. So that might be quite a sweet thing to do, and it'd be really helpful for people who I don't have as like a massively good relationship with yet. So Clint might be a good one to try within the cinema sort of front ourselves. So looks like we're heading into the final parts of the day, and we're getting ourselves ready for bed, because you know it's post midnight. That's a sensible time to go to bed, I think. This coming from a man who has regularly gone to bed at some silly o'clock in the morning time frames because he's an idiot. Part of it was working nightclubs and bars. You do sort of get used to the very late finish dummery. So, yeah, not always the most sensible bedtimes, shall we say. So I'm going to make a few more preserves jars. I think I should probably go slap them in the, what's it called? The shed with the preserve jars in. Because that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Now, but whilst this is sort of getting ourselves ready, I will bid you all a fond farewell as we grab these preserves. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed listening to me ramble on about all the mad nonsense that goes on in my mind and working out what things we want to do with the farm. If you do have any ideas of things that you'd like me to incorporate, or even ideas for the pub quizzes, if you also are listening in on those ones, please do leave a comment, like, share and subscribe, because again, they do also help, because they help me with the algorithm. They also help yourself with the algorithm, because it means that you get to see and hear more stuff that you like, which, you know, it's not like an obtuse, bizarre system. It's just working on your history of what you think seems to be interesting. But for now, I will bid you all a very fond farewell, and thank you very much for tuning in, and hopefully I will catch you all again the next time the Walrus plays Stardew Valley.